Well, no matter what we do, we just can't win. Let's begin. Now, of course, no doubt you've seen adverts all over the place try to ram EVs down our throats, obviously before the 2035 deadline on all new petrol and diesel car ban comes in. The problem is that even if you do end up getting an EV, it seems like they are now turning their attention to them, because if this article is anything to go by, it says that EV drivers are being charged more for parking under new rules, leaving owners fuming over grossly unfair plans. So why have they done this? Well, like the smart ass that I am, I've narrowed it down to two reasons. Number one, more and more people are getting more EVs, and therefore any benefit or whatever, cheap charges or free allowances you get over time are surely going to be phased out the more people that get them. And secondly, well, there might just be bellends. But anyway, the article goes on. EV drivers have complained of highway robbery over the introduction of a grossly unfair new rule, which can see them being charged more to park. And it's not often, apparently, that electric cars and gas guzzling or petrol guzzling 4x4s are lumped in together, but local authorities are reportedly be considering slapping both with hefty fines for apparently unexpected reasons. So just what is that? Well, it all comes down apparently to their size and weight, meaning that they take up more space and can inflict more damage apparently on our roads. But strangely, they do seem to be forgetting about all the Arctic lorries and buses that also use those roads, who, let's face it, are going to be more heavier. Well, unless one of the passengers is my girlfriend. But anyway, the average weight of an EV is apparently 2 tons, 400 kilograms more than an average petrol or diesel car, according to Sustainability by Numbers. And SUVs can be even heavier, it says, with car guys putting them at an average of 2.5 tons. Well, how about instead of actually charging people for going down the EV route, which, let's face it, all councils and government want us to actually do, instead of doing that, why don't they come up with a different road material compound or mixture or whatever to make them tougher and therefore not actually get broken up when cars drive over them or I fart near them? I mean, it's just absolutely disgraceful, isn't it? And get this, Islington Council in North London has apparently already imposed the new levies, with permits clocking in at £100 a year for EVs with a 30 kilowatt battery. And to be honest with you, 30 kilowatts, that is apparently quite small for an EV. That'll probably give you a range of somewhere like 100 miles or so on average. More often than not nowadays, apparently 60 kilowatts seems to be the standard. I mean, there are 40 or 50 ones, but 60 ones are, from what I've heard, what people go for. Models apparently with a higher 90 kilowatt an hour battery are those with more power and higher ranges, could be shelling out up to £230 annually, which is extremely unfair, isn't it? And let's face it, would only push people further away than actually trying to go for an EV in the first place. I mean, what's the point? Thinking, yeah, okay, I might be able to save a bit if I'm lucky enough to have a home charger to plug it in, but then again, I'm going to get screwed for 230 quid. It just doesn't make sense, does it? Lambeth Council in the south of the city is also reported to be considering new charges, with the Daily Mail saying that these are likely to be introduced. And there was a huge blow apparently to EV owners in Westminster after the Labour run, well, there's no surprise there, is there? Council forced them to pay for parking for the first time. Well, to be honest, that had to happen eventually, didn't it? I mean, we will one day be in a situation where most of the public, I'm guessing, will have EVs by about 2040 or maybe even 2050. But don't worry, because apparently Ian Taylor of the Alliance for British Drivers slammed the increases as grossly unfair. He added, "The bottom line is stinging drivers for more money." And it has a whole new meaning to expression of highway robbery, which, to be honest, yeah, it does, doesn't it? And obviously, I could be wrong, but I'm guessing most of the time these councils do tend to think of things when their heads are up their bums, and then, of course, they take them out and they speak a load of, what Keir Starmer speaks most of the time, I'm guessing. But anyway, it apparently comes amid concerns that new motors are too large for standing parking spaces, with over 150 dub auto-piece, or the fat version of cars, I'm guessing. The thing is, though, cars are starting to get more and more bigger, aren't they? Let's face it, we are not in the 1940s or 50s, or was it 60s, when the Mini come out. So our cars are, like us, especially me, getting bigger by the day. But don't worry, because I myself have actually gone to the gym now, after a while of not doing so, and I've, to be honest, realised why I didn't actually go there. But anyway, I will go there again. Richard Hebditch, I hope I pronounced it right, the UK director from the campaign group Transport and Environment, said trying to accommodate even bigger vehicles is a real challenge. There's no limit on how wide cars can get, as long as they don't get wider than the limit based on HGV sizes, which is currently 255 centimetres. And apparently he's one of the people, or Pulix in my opinion, that suggested that the potential solutions to the problem includes apparently higher taxes, because why not screw the public even more, I'm guessing, based on vehicle size and width imposed on manufacturers. It just makes me wonder what he drives about in. Maybe a Honda E or something like that. But anyway, all the councillors out there said about themselves. Well, a Lambeth council spokesperson said, charging by weight is something we are interested in looking at. Well, there's no surprise there. Anything that possibly could extort money or get money from people is, I'm guessing, something that councils just love to do. But anyway, but the council is not close to making any decisions on this. Well, I could be wrong, but I'm guessing when Labour or Keir Starmer might get in and then Downing Street, which is a horrible thought to think about, but maybe if and when he does, later on this year, when Rishi, let's face it, is going to get a verbal kick in the gonads by quite a lot of voters out there, then that may be something that councils will have the backing of the government to go fully ahead with, I'm guessing. But Islington Council hasn't got away with it either, because Rowena Champion, who is apparently Islington Council's chief executive member for the environment, air quality and transport, added, "We firmly believe that in order to create more equal future for Islington, we must make our borough a greener place for all. The charges that we have already made, such as introducing low traffic neighbourhoods, have had a positive impact in contributing to borough-wide improvements in air quality. We have also made significant changes to our parking system to help us move towards a net zero carbon, to simplify the old system and introduce emission-based charging for electric vehicles. But also the changes ensure that permit prices more accurately reflect the pollution that motor vehicles create and encourage local people, where possible, to switch to more sustainable forms of transport." And to be honest, I've got a problem with this whole net zero thing in general. Let's face it, us as the UK, we're such a small country compared to the whole of the world. So even if we all go net zero and don't put out any pollution at all, what difference is it going to make to the entire planet? I'm guessing not that much, but these sort of people just don't seem to think about that, do they? And not only that, but as far as I'm aware, trees, they breathe in carbon dioxide, don't they? So let's face it, if there's a bigger drop of carbon dioxide than what they're used to in modern times, then I'm guessing, they might actually be a bit peed off. Well, they've just done another banking U-turn. And I say that because apparently when the banks first announced that they were closing their branches and therefore trying to shift most of their customers online or using the apps, we were told, weren't we? I'm pretty sure that there would be mobile banks come around every so often for people who are not technologically minded, and that, I suppose, cushioned the blow a tiny bit. But it seems one of those banks, at least at the moment, is having a bit of a rethink on that, which, to be honest, I think, if anything, is going to cause all their customers to jump ship and go to other banks, so it'll only end up causing them a massive pain in the bum. And to be honest, if that does happen, they'll only deserve it. But anyway, the article says that Lloyds acts as mobile bank branches as lenders shift services online. And apparently Lloyds has confirmed it is axing the mobile bank and vans just days after it announced plans to cut 1,600 jobs, as it's increasingly shifting more and more things online. And the banking giant has apparently also said that visits to the branches had fallen by 90% since 2018. Well, there's no surprise there. If you're going to keep closing your branches, then less people are going to go there, aren't they? It doesn't take too much to work out, does it? But anyway, with as few as 2 people regularly visiting the service in some locations. The fleet of vans visit more than 120 towns and villages at least once a month, providing cash and cheque services, account inquiries, and also help for people who are not easily able to visit the high street branch. So think about it, if they are going to cancel that service, which visits 120 towns, that is going to surely affect a lot of people. And yes, admittedly, whilst only 2 or 3 people, they say, only actually visit them, I'm guessing more people would if they promoted it a lot more, maybe in adverts in newspapers or leaflets through the door, things like that, instead of just on stuff like, I don't know, social media, for example. And even if they do promote it in those ways, I think they might get a bit more customers if they put a few more leaflets out there. And yes, admittedly, that would increase their costs, but, I could be wrong. I'm sure a van that drives around is cheaper than having a branch in a town location, and that is their own choice, of course. But personally, if it was me, and my bank done that, I would certainly be thinking if I want to bank with them anymore. But that's personally just me. Although they do say that the banking group has already been in the process of informing Lloyds Bank and the Bank of Scotland staff as well as customers about the closures, which will happen in May. Lloyds announced last week that it was cutting about 1,600 jobs as its focus increasingly turned towards online services. However, 830 new roles will be created as part of a shake-up, resulting in a net reduction of 769 jobs. So whilst it is good that not all those 1,600 people are going to be losing their jobs, 769 people still will, so it will affect them obviously, and they will no doubt of course be added to the dole queue, along with any of those 1,600 that the bank doesn't keep, if it instead recruits brand new employees who didn't work for the bank. And the worrying thing is that Age UK warned in a report last year that the rise of digital banking and cashless transactions and the closure of branches risks some people being cut adrift from society. Now, I've always said, even though admittedly I do use my Apple Watch to make payments, I have always said, and I will always say, that cash should always be a form of payment for people who are not technologically minded and actually rely on cash. I think it's absolutely disgraceful that people who do rely on cash may feel that they may longer be able to do so in maybe 10 or 20 years' time. They should actually be given the reassurance they need from banks and the government that cash is going nowhere at all.